So let's just dive right in. We're all living through this massive technological shift with AI, right? But what if the way most companies are building for it is already a dead end? Today, we're going to explore a really powerful framework for understanding not just what's coming next, but why it's coming.
This quote it nails the central idea perfectly. What it's really saying is that today's AI chatbots, the ones we use on different websites, they're already on their way to becoming obsolete. Think of them like a desktop website right before the iPhone changed everything. A huge shift is coming, and you need to get your head around it to see what's on the horizon.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to introduce this core concept called the innovation clock. Then, we'll see if it holds up by looking back at two massive shifts, from the PC to the web, and then from the web to the smartphone. Once we see how that pattern works, we'll use it to map out the next big break, from the AI we have today to personal robots, and, finally, what it actually takes to build for this new world. Okay, let's unpack this big idea, the innovation clock. Think of it like a predictable rhythm in technology, a repeating pattern. It doesn't just help us guess what the next big thing might be, it helps us understand the forces that cause these disruptions to happen in the first place. It's a really powerful way to see the forest for the trees.
So here's how it works. Picture a clock face. At high noon, 12 p.m., technology is concentrated. It's all about physical things that we own. A personal computer is the perfect example. But then, the hand swings down to 6 p.m. At 6, technology becomes diffused. It's a shared network that we access, like the internet. This cycle, this swing between owned things and shared networks, that's the key pattern we're going to follow.
And this table kind of breaks down the key differences. At thing noon, everything's concentrated and local. You own it, and your identity is tied to that ownership. This is my computer. But when the clock hits network 6, technology is diffused. It's remote. You don't own it. You're just a user with a subscription. Your entire relationship with the technology fundamentally changes.
Okay, so let's put this clock into motion with our first case study. We're going to look at that massive shift from the personal computer to the web. This was the clock's first great swing in the modern digital era, from a 12 p.m. thing straight down to a 6 p.m. network.
I mean, just think about how radical this change really was. In the PC world, everything was local. You installed software from a CD-ROM, your files were right there on your hard drive, and being offline was totally normal. The web just flipped all of that upside down. Suddenly, you were logging into remote services, your data was on a server who knows where, and being online became the new default.
And here's the crucial lesson. The big, dominant companies of the PC era, they completely missed it. Why? Well, because their entire business was built to win in the old world. They saw the web as just an add-on, a place for a brochure. The idea that people would ever trust their private files to a remote server, it seemed nuts. They were busy perfecting a world that was already becoming a museum piece. But, of course, the clock doesn't stop at 6 p.m. It always swings back. So the second great turn was from that diffused open web back to a concentrated, owned thing, the smartphone. We went from 6 p.m. right back up to 12 p.m., high noon.
And you know what? History just repeated itself. The new giants, the web-native companies, they made the exact same kind of mistake. They figured the smartphone was just a tiny screen for their websites. They completely failed to see that the whole paradigm was shifting away from the browser and towards native apps that lived on your personal device.
So, who were the winners? The winners were the ones who got that the smartphone was a totally new kind of thing with its own set of rules. They built apps. They designed for quick, bite-sized interactions. They used all the new toys like the GPS, the camera, and especially push notifications. They didn't just shrink their website, they reimagined the whole experience from scratch.
And that brings us to today. Right now, we are at 6 p.m. again. AI, as we know it, is a network. We access these huge, centralized models through platforms like ChatGPT. But if the innovation clock is right, that hand is already starting to swing back to noon. The next big thing isn't a better network, it's an owned thing, a personal robot.
Now this is going to fundamentally change how we interact with all technology. The new model isn't you going to different websites or apps, it's you just telling your robot what you want, like plan me a trip to Japan, and the robot handles everything else. It goes out and talks to all the services on your behalf. The main relationship is no longer you and a website, it's you and your robot.
This table really shows the core strategic shift here.
The current way of thinking, the our bot model, is that you, the user, have to come to their platform, and they own the conversation. But the coming their robot reality is completely different. Your robot becomes the middleman. The only conversation that really matters is the one you have with your robot, because all the context, all the personal details, they live with it, not with the dozens of platforms it talks to for you. Okay, so if this massive shift is really happening, what do we do about it? How do we start designing products and services for a world where everyone has their own personal, owned AI? That's what it means to design for Robot Noon.
So how do you actually build for this future? It all comes down to a new philosophy, ownership design, and it has a few key pillars. First, deep personalization. The robot has to know you, not just people like you. Second, you need real user control. Third, this idea of locality and persistence, your data, your identity, it lives with you, building this continuous story over time. And maybe the most important one, loyalty. The robot works for you and only you. It is unambiguously on your side.
This means that the basic building block of the internet is going to change. The smartphone era was all about the app. The robot era, it's going to be defined by tools and capabilities. These are not interfaces you look at or open. They are functions like book flight or order groceries that your robot just runs in the background. They are designed to be called by another program, not seen by a human.
And this all leads to a pretty startling conclusion. Your customer is no longer just the human. For pretty much any online service, your primary customer, the thing actually hitting your servers and using your API, is going to be another robot. Your job becomes serving those robots as efficiently as you can so that they, in turn, can serve their human owners.
So I'll leave you with this final critical question to chew on. Take a hard look at the AI strategies and the products being built all around us today. Are they being designed as destinations that we, the users, have to go visit? Or are they being designed as powerful capabilities that a personal robot can use on our behalf? Because if it's the former, the innovation clock suggests they might just be building the equivalent of a desktop website in a world that is very, very rapidly going mobile.